Welcome to Movie of the Year, the only podcast that has the science and the screaming to unequivocally figure out what the best movie is of any given year. This season, we are at about the neck of 1975. This is our second movie of 1975. This week, we're digging into Dog Day Afternoon, the hottest goddamn movie that came out that year and maybe any year. I'm your host for the evening, Mike Gravano, and with me are two people who will be competing for the title of Who Knows the Most About Dog Day Afternoon, who watched it the hardest, and most important, who will be Mike's best friend. The last winner, and my best friend for the last week, is Greg.
Greg. Fan favorite, America's handsome boy, Greg.
And then the heel.
I'm the face
of Movie of the Year, Ryan.
Yes, I am also here. I will pause so in post-production they can fill in all of my titles.
The crowd is turned on by
they
your
love
titles,
it.
apparently.
Actually, my title is Ryan, quote unquote, ooh oh oh ooh oh 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 a. So,
ooh ah.
yeah, I love Disturbed, and everyone knows it.
You're a Disturbed panelist, yes. Gentlemen, Dog Day Afternoon, before we actually get in and talk about the movie, so please try to refrain from actually saying anything coherent or intelligent. What was your history with this movie before watching it for this show?
I knew that at some point Al Pacino was going to go, Attica!
I'd actually seen the movie.
And it did.
I've seen the movie before a couple of times, but was a little nervous coming in here because watching movies for the show, you know, it's like a more glaring magnifying glass and we put spotlights on stuff that we don't like or upsets us. And so I know that there's some potential here, but I have never loved this movie more than I have this week that I watched it.
They give us special goggles here at your Pop Filter Studios to watch things harder and better.
The reason they're special is because
you can think
they have
you like
windshield
something.
wipers on them.
Yeah.
And that like sort of handles all of the
Yeah.
outside sweat we have.
If something stunning happens,
So much of my sweat is
so you
outside
can
sweat.
see for real. Oh, see, I've trained mine like a dog. It's all inside
Obviously not
sweat.
the B-crack sweat. That's pretty much, I don't know, that's a gray area,
That's
right?
inside and outside. And
That's
yeah,
in or outer, yeah.
I don't know why
Yeah,
that's such
yeah,
a gray area for you, but check that out.
Yeah, well, it doesn't get a lot of sun, I guess.
Yeah, but then it should be pale, like it is a medical
But
issue.
I had seen this movie one time before this week. When we said we were going to do the 75 season, I went in and saw some biggies, and this was one of them. And so I've seen it 3 total times, and I really, really like it. And if we aim to pick a movie, if part of what we're doing is finding like the most emblematic movie of a year, this feels like a freaking snapshot of 1975. Like I really feel like we're getting the picture, the beautiful and the ugly of Brooklyn in 1975.
Yeah, there's a reoccurring, and again, only the second episode, but reoccurring thing we've hit on already, and Greg, you bring it up a lot, is that in the 70s, 1975 is all about like what is society, and that is woven throughout this movie. And I don't want to be coy. Normally, you both said you liked it. This is my favorite goddamn movie we've done in the entire run of Movie of the Year.
Wow.
I have not seen it before
big
this week, and it blew my socks off. Did you guys know Al Pacino could act? Because I honestly did not know.
I actually did a lot of
thought
research about
he
that
was-
this week.
Did you what?
You tried to do research, but instead you should have done something different entirely, Ryan.
Seabird?
Seabirds. But yeah, I hope we're going to get into a deep conversation about the character of Sonny, because like as the movie goes on, you realize what an amazing job. Like you get more and more appreciation for what Al Pacino's doing as the movie sort of unfolds, and you learn a little bit about Sonny and his Dog Day Afternoon.
I sort of feel like the people who were born in like, I don't know, let's say 1970, and just being like, John Wayne, what the fuck? Why would you? Who the fuck liked him? You know, like Al Pacino, we know him to be an icon. You know, we know him to be a star. He's plastered on walls still of like kids these days because of a couple of particular movies. But I would say that I was always missing that attachment, and this movie is 100% the attachment. Like This makes up for a movie like this makes up for decades of hooing and hawing.
He was just a noise machine. He was a different generation's Michael Winslow to me. But he couldn't be a helicopter. He could just...
We did not realize how much he had been coasting on amazing performances that we just didn't see.
Yeah.
Because we're 80s kids. Imagine you're 8 and someone's like, let's watch Dog Day Afternoon. Like, you're not going to see that. So
when I was 8, I would have been like, well, yeah, I don't think it's Sidney Lumet's best work about the times and how media affects our society, but I'll give it a shot, sure.
I would have been like, put on Flight of the Navigator and fuck me up. And then my parents would have put on Flight of the Navigator, and then I would have gotten fucked up. Like, oh God, what if I suddenly just lost 20 years of my life? What would I do?
I love how your parents are like, we have a real we can fuck Greg up situation here. We should definitely take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Let's put on Flight of the Navigator.
At 8, I loved E.T., so my mom rented the Aliens trilogy because she knew I like aliens. So she unintentionally
It could have been worse,
me
bro.
up
She
at
could have
that
rented
age.
Mac and Me.
Oh. I think maybe she punished me because I wanted to watch Mac and Me too many times. I've seen that movie.
When you were a kid, which was your favorite Aliens movie?
I was a big Alien. I liked Newt. I found her. The first one's very scary. I liked the big mech warrior thing Sigourney Weaver wore. And you know what? I just didn't get what David Fincher was trying to do in the third one when I was 8.
I thought you were going to say Prometheus for sure. I do think, though, that, like, I think it says something that, like, there's so much to this movie, the writing, the directing, the editing, blah, 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 that we have so much to talk about tonight, but it's really hard to get around Al Pacino. Like, in his least Al Pacino-esque, like, screamy thing, like, he is just...
He almost rarely screams.
Or, like, you're really frustrating me on the phone.
That's why it's kind of, like, ironic that him screaming out Attica became, like, the centerpiece of this. Because there's so much more time where it's just a shot of his face as he slowly realizes, like, oh, God, I have no idea what's going on here. I don't know what I'm going to do.
He was not screaming Gattaca?
Gattaca! Check it out! Mike's...
Yeah, what's his... somebody on the phone said, what's your favorite Jude Law movie? And then he's just screaming, Gattaca! Because we want to dig into Sonny and Al... We're going to just take a break and just stop pussyfooting around and do it. Gosh darn it.
Hey, guys, thank you so much for listening so far. And let me just tell you that everything ahead of this commercial is much better than what came before it. That's my guarantee. While I have you here, let me tell you about a website. It's called yourpopfilter.com. And it's everything you need that's related to Pop Filter. Everything Mike, everything Ryan, everything Greg, everything Cassie. Everything is there at yourpopfilter.com. While you're there, go to yourpopfilter.com/Amazon. Make that your new Amazon bookmark and do your shopping from there. That way, we get a little piece of the action and Amazon doesn't. Make sure you're also listening to everything that Pop Filter has to offer, which includes the Superhero Show, a podcast that covers every single TV show that's based on a comic book or comic book property. And Movie of the Year, where we sit down and try and figure out what is the single greatest movie of any given year. That's Superhero Show. That's Movie of the Year. And that's yourpopfilter.com. Rate, subscribe, review. Bye!
In 1972, John Vitalvich and Salvatore Natural took hostages at a Chase Manhattan branch in Brooklyn. A story quickly became a Life magazine article, The Boys in the Bank, which was then turned into the movie Dog Day Afternoon. Director Sidney Lumet and Al Pacino cast the film for Pacino's past off-Broadway co-stars. The movie would go on to be nominated for 6 Academy Awards, 7 Golden Globes, and win the Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay. Taste buds, I ask you this. How does our understanding of Sonny change as the movie progresses? Do you find yourself having more or less sympathy as the movie goes on?
I think that this is one of the single greatest. We can move past the fact that it's the greatest Al Pacino performance of all time. Like, Michael Corleone is an important...
Without reviewing the whole body of work, I don't know how we can make that determination.
I wish
now.
we had time for
if
that,
we had
Greg,
just, like,
but
if
apparently
we had just gone
don't.
through point by point, you know?
Why is my face
time on
getting
the
red as you say that, Greg? That's crazy.
Is your face getting redder?
My face is getting redder.
Are you that? No, I see it. You're right.
I do think that, like, I think that Michael Corleone, his most famous role was more of a plot device. If you look at Dog Day Afternoon, you see, like, what he is capable of just adding a million little bits and drabs of nuance into this.
Because the whole time you're trying to figure out, like, who is this guy? Because one thing I knew about this movie going into was, like, I thought of him as a bank robber. Well, not exactly.
I know.
I wouldn't say that this guy's exactly a bank robber. He doesn't really seem to have much of a plan or an idea. But I find it's not that you like your opinion of him changes in one fluid arc. It feels like it keeps going back and forth to where you feel so much sympathy for him. But then you get to him talking to Leon, one of his two wives, and Leon's like, you kept putting a gun to my head, you hurt me.
Not a good guy.
I tried to kill, and you're like, damn, I don't know. Like, that seems pretty bad.
But I think that the thing is with Sonny, I think that the important thing is that if you allow me to be a star, I will be a star. If you stop me from being that, I'm not going to act great. But if you allow me to do it, then I'm going to do it. And in front of us, he mostly does it. Like, if we just had like a clean-ass bank robber like Robert De Niro from the movie Heat, which I think Al Pacino was in, and he kept saying something. I don't remember what Al Pacino said in that movie. Probably something like that.
Heat, yeah.
But yeah, like, that's sort of boring. But he wants to be a star if he just gets listened to, and we give him the opportunity. We are so much like that crowd, the crowd of normal people, not the crowd of cops, who are always ready to grab that gun. But the crowd of normal people.
Why are they pointing? Why are they always pointing? Just stop pointing, and everything will be fine.
I think the movie makes less of a distinction there between everybody else and the cops. The crowd is like a very interesting sort of like mechanism in this movie. There's a lot of interesting like crowd stuff in the movies of 75, but like they seem to vacillate in their feelings about Sonny, and there's obviously different contingents in there. So like they're a weird sort of Greek chorus that goes throughout the movie.
I think that's the point. I think that's why it's awesome to have it layered, to have a layer of cops and then a layer of crowd, is that the crowd does vacillate, sometimes in really bad ways. Like when they hear about the fact that Sonny is gay, they make jokes, but they're also cheering for him, and they know that they love the anti-authoritarianism, whereas the cops don't vacillate. They're just like, here's my gun, please let me shoot him.
Well, the cops vacillate in how good they are at stopping people from going. This is the most porous cop barrier I have ever seen of whether they'll stop them or not.
Well, at some point, you're going to have a donut and just like mindlessly eat it while you're watching the movie that we're watching.
This is crazy.
I think this movie does a good job reminding us that now we have a much more like professionalized view of hostage negotiation.
Right.
Back then, it was you find a detective that's in the area and send him over there, and this guy had no idea what the hell he was doing. He really seemed to have absolutely no plan at all.
Well, much like The Godfather. Go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
I was going to say what I liked about that is like it felt very human, and he just kept saying to Sonny like, we don't want anybody to get hurt. Whatever you need, we're hostage. There are tactics they have. He had no tactics, so he was just like human to human. Let's just nobody die. The one thing
that kept bothering me so much is they're like, send out all the women. And he's like, I only got women in here. And they're like, okay, never mind. How about the concept of woman? How about the concept of like, and I think this might matter in terms of like understanding the movie. What about thinking about like one or two of them? Nobody ever proposes the idea that you could just.
It's all or none.
Yeah, send out all the women. No, I can't because it's just ladies. Oh, never mind. We'll get you a jet then.
The way that the mafia works, allegedly, since 1972, was because of The Godfather, also starring Al Pacino, by the way. They watched that and they were like, oh, let's just use this to work like this from now on. And apparently that's the same thing with hostage negotiations and bank robbers after Dog Day Afternoon. Like a lot of this stuff is invented and then now used because it all felt so real then.
Do people like now when they rob banks, do they have anything like a plan?
No, they just have gift-wrapped guns.
Which, man, you should know how to open your own gift wrapping.
Come on, you wrapped it, man.
That's such a great moment where he can't get the wrapping off the gun because that really lets the audience know exactly what's going to happen. Even if you're not familiar with this story, when he can't get his gun out of that box and Stevie
this isn't like a career criminal. Like we're not going to see Ocean's 11 really doing well here.
Sir, yeah.
What, like getting back to Sonny though, like one of the main features I see of him is this incredible radar of being able to say like, how am I going to get the most people to like me? Which you would say is not that likable of a trait,
right?
But if he can get 16 people to be on his side, even though it like sort of gets 15 people off his side, then he will take it. He just sort of has this thing. It just reminds me of like Leslie Nielsen as the umpire in Naked Gun. Oh wait, if I call strikes for the home team or against the home team, then I get applause. He's fueled by applause and he wants to be so genuine.
But isn't this also the first time he's ever gotten this? because nothing else in his life has ever worked out like this. Like I don't get the sense that he's Mr. Popular otherwise. It's that I think what happens is he's the perfect man for this moment, which is in 72, I guess. Like, people are so fed up and they feel so pushed down and they feel so kicked around and ignored, and they don't know like who to trust or what to believe anymore, that when someone just is an outsider just saying they're not going to take it anymore, people are drawn to just that message.
Yeah,
which is a very
we love
Lumet
Robin
message.
Hood. Yeah, we love Robin Hood, and people just assume he's that. Like, it's interesting. Like, this, I think this is one of the more nuanced characters, not Pacino, but just in general. Like, we see so many sides and still come out like he's a monster.
Yeah,
but we don't see it. We just see him on his last day. Like, and so
he's
he's a hero
severely
because
broken, right? Like, he comes from a messed up house. He was in Vietnam.
He's open about it.
Been in and out of jail his entire life.
But I mean, like, I do think that like that's what opened up the door for Leon, not because he's a man, but because he's a second wife. Like, this is, I am so tired of being torn down, and he is always being torn down and open to being torn down. Like, I will let people in to tear me down, and I will overreact to their tearing downedness. And so that's how you get a second wife, regardless, is just now Leon thinks that I'm cool. And when Leon doesn't think I'm cool anymore, because Leon, Leon says in the phone call, I've tried to break up with you for the last 6 months. Now he has the crowd as the new girlfriend. You know, like, he always has the next thing of like, oh,
and he kinda
Sonny,
has the
we don't know
bank
enough
people.
about you yet to but like, we love you now. And he's like, fuck yes, you do. Hello.
Yeah, and as you say,
he knows
like,
how to play to them.
Yeah, and he forms the, like, whether it's Stockholm Syndrome or what, he forms the bank captives into a weird little society that, like, I mean, that scene where he's taking them out of the bank and they're pressed up against him so that he and Sal can't be shot. There seems to be something extra other than just like, I'm being forced to do this. It seems like, and like when Maria leaves and she's like, Sal, here, take my rosary, like, and don't be afraid to fly on the plane.
I'm so worried about you.
Yeah, I'm so worried about you. And it's like, so in a weird way, it's like, well, I mean, that's because Sonny brought them all together, right? And gave them something to believe in and listen to them. They are not, especially, there's an obvious gender dynamic. They're ladies. And nobody is listening to them in any part of the movie.
But it was important for Sal to bring them together. Or, I'm sorry, for Sonny. Like, Sonny made it a priority to bring them all together as a family. He is that shitty guy at your job who says, this isn't just a job, this is a family. Like, which is actually like him saying this is a cult. You know, like, Sonny is a wannabe, but minus cult leader. But he wants it to feel like a family. And it's not because it's not so the bank robbery will go easier. It's because that's what he wants as a person. And the bank robbery is always secondary to him.
He's always been an outsider, as he says. He doesn't want to be an outsider anymore. He's always looking for love and then finding it in broken people who need too much love themselves. And so everyone just manages to drain each other.
Steering back to the Pacino himself, I think it's interesting that this is like him off Broadway. Like he's like diving more and more into movies because I think there's a lot of like theater ticks here, like, but they're not too big. Like he feels so he's not playing to the back of the house. He's just doing a lot that they do in theater where he turns into that great ass. Like it feels like he forgot things as he got older. Like he feels more like a bad theater actor in movies the older he gets, where here it's like, it's that perfect combination of film and theater.
So
experience.
Is this a compliment or?
For this movie, it's a compliment.
Okay, so yeah, I do think that he did a thing here that he sort of lost but tried to get back in future movies.
I mean, it's an interpretation of a character. That's what I think that he stopped doing at some point. At some point, he became a caricature of himself and then a caricature of that caricature. Sonny is him, it feels like, stepping into the brown pants of an actual person and being like, man, what would this guy really be going through right here as his world falls apart, but is kind of like rebuilt at the same time? He's never had this much attention, love, or power before, and it's like the worst moment of his entire life.
And there's legendary moments throughout this movie where Al Pacino breaks, where you're watching Al Pacino, like, and not watching Sonny, and they were all kept. And
I feel like they made him really super hot and then made him act on the phone so much longer than he wanted to.
Just really slam that phone down hard.
Piss Pacino off. See what happens.
But yeah, like it's all like he isn't Sonny he's never not Sonny for even 1 second. And when you're at your most hoo-ha, we can see you're never actually in character. You're just always Al Pacino and that hoo-ha character at the same time.
But at the same time, if you don't love him at his hoo-ha, then you don't deserve him at his Attica. That's just what I think.
It's probably true.
Bon voyage, motherfucker.
That is all the time we have to talk about Sonny and Al. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to go see a little mountain.
Mount Rushmore.
As we all know, Mount Rushmore is a mountain dedicated to the four most handsome presidents in U.S. history in one of the Dakotas.
The Betty Boops, if you will.
The Betty Boops of presidents, as we like to call them around these parts. But do you know what's cooler?
Gun to your head, what Dakota is it?
South?
I think it's South, too.
Thank you.
Banning.
The fans in South Dakota, let us know if we're right about that.
But do you know what's
It's 100% north.
cooler than, well, you know what? Greg supported me.
Yeah. And I always will, bud.
Do you know what's cooler than presidents?
Ice cold.
Music. That's why
$3 million.
today we're making $3 million worth of music. Mount Rushmore to the music of 1975. I think it's all very clear. So, Ryan, what is your first submission?
This was a rough one because there's the music I like of 1975.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's the music that was 1975.
Yes.
And maybe we'll get to what we're into later. But right now, I have to fucking do a Slammy D of one person who I thank God, and Mike, you know that I don't thank God for a lot of things, but I thank God this one person is a country boy, and only in this goddamn year, this awful year that makes 2020 look like 2016, it's John Denver. Who was a motherfucking megastar in the only year that was possible, 1975.
He had just invented the omelet. He had just found the last dinosaur.
And I'm sorry, Mike, where did you just last poop?
In a John.
You took a Denver,
Denver
Deuce,
John.
Took
right?
the
Yeah.
Denver,
The Denver
Deuce
John. Yeah.
right in a John in the city of Colorado.
Of course, everyone knows this song primarily from the Pauly Shore movie, Son-in-Law.
And the Country Bear Jamboree, which is where I learned most of my country music.
Thank God I'm a country bear.
Love it. Can't believe they took it away. Greg.
I just, right away, I sort of, that's an automatic on the mountain. I would like to move away from 1975.
Yeah.
Good movies,
Yeah.
but
Honestly,
I don't think I'm ready to, think about John Denver in any other light than you fucking dork. I want to push you downstairs.
dork.
It's so weird because at the time, people didn't know that there actually was good music around.
Yeah.
And some people knew, I guess, but the public at large didn't know. They were committed to a completely different brand of music, which we are still very familiar with because they were so bamboozled by it. But yeah, there's a stark dichotomy between some of our greatest bands we've ever had making the best music we'll ever hear.
In my research, I read about a lot of record setting sold out concerts by the bands that Greg you're talking about right now. And then John Denver shut them all down. Do you guys think that you're making billions of dollars it's cute? It's cute compared to what John Denver is capable of in this year.
Now, John Denver didn't have to have a gimmick, but the 70s were a time of some pretty gimmicky bands, including one that was a two-piece where one of the people was obviously a ship's captain. Hard to believe that he could find the time to break away from his duties, and I'm assuming the British Royal Navy.
Greg, I did see his hat, though. He actually was a captain.
Yeah, oh no, it's the real deal. Epaulets, the whole deal. Captain and Tennille, they have the number one song of 1975, Love Will Keep Us Together, which I listened to today sort of under protest, and then found out is actually musically, I think, a pretty solid song. I think that song's actually pretty good. Maybe maybe we don't like it and it's stupid, but I think it actually.
If you move beyond one line,
yeah,
the
there's a
title.
lot of musicality in that. I don't know which of the two of them is responsible for the drums, but it's got a nice drum beat in there.
I love okay, so my name is John Bartholomew. I will be the captain, and you, Jennifer Tennille. I don't know, Tennille. Who cares? Let's
Let's
go.
move on.
I'm the captain.
His name, and I don't think this is his given name, but maybe it is. He goes by the captain, but his name supposedly is Dylan Dragon.
no. Why isn't
Right,
he in
so
front
when
of like a metal band? Why is he?
When you're named Dylan Dragon, but you want to make a song like "Love Will Keep Us Together," you have to not go by Dylan Dragon. Instead, be Captain. Heck yeah.
Dylan Dragon is how most people describe my penis, I would say. The taste and what it's doing on the ground.
Dragon.
Yeah.
That's awful. I thought you were gonna say because it's spitting hot fire.
There's a lot of things I could have said, Greg.
Yeah.
I went down to write Captain and Tennille on the mountain, but I wrote Greg. So Greg wearing a captain's hat is now on the mountain.
Woo! I love it.
And Greg in
try
a
to find
Tennille dress.
some person who's going to notice. Try to find one person on the planet.
That doesn't
who's
look
gonna be
like
"That's
Dylan
not the
Dragon.
captain."
All right, I do think these were the big two. These were the obvious that had to be on here. Maybe we can open up and good music, or maybe we won't. Ryan, what else?
All right, let's try this. This was the release. And this is like the fourth album. He was coming up hot, but not a superstar. And then Born to Run came out in 1975.
Baby, I was born to run.
And he did sound a lot like that South Park character that you just heard. I think that Bruce Springsteen should be on here.
This is long before he just absolutely covered himself in turquoise, which is now as like our 80-year-old Southwest mom version of Bruce Springsteen. This is the Jersey Boy, right?
This is where he would look at the camera and say, like, I don't drive Jeeps. And then it would be like, Jeep. And that was the commercial.
Okay.
That was the end of the commercial.
I would buy a Jeep out of confusion after watching that.
You gotta wear jeans. Okay.
Unlike John Denver, who should be mocked and sucks, Bruce Springsteen, I think, has like the weirdest reputation because people who love him haven't listened to the lyrics, and then there's people like us who do, and we're like, I don't know, Bruce Springsteen's kind of punk rock, you guys.
The people you see rocking out to Born in the USA.
That is
Never heard a word.
No.
Yeah.
Never heard
Hell
a word.
yeah, I'm born in the USA. All right.
Are you listening to this guy's politics? Because I don't think that if you're wearing an American flag hat, you should also like this song.
Are we gonna listen to that song? It Ain't Me. That's another good USA patriotic song, right? I'm not.
I do have to
politician's
say
son.
though, I can never understand what anybody's saying in any song. So as long as it just seems enthusiastic,
Yeah,
I'm for
Greg
it.
just loves enthusiasm.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, burn it all. What? Okay, cool.
I normally like that, but instead, Springsteen is going right up on the mountain because it's impossible not to. This is both big for the time and we like it. That I love. Greg, are you going to close a rare 4-round Mount Rushmore?
No, because
You couldn't hold to it.
Yeah. We have to get into some of the artists that we like. So, it's not his greatest, but Bowie came out with Young Americans. It's not my favorite of his albums, I should say. I don't know if it's his greatest, but the song Young Americans is awesome. Fame is awesome, which he worked on with a guy named John Lennon. And
Do you mean John Legend?
It's
John Legend?
Chrissy
Yeah,
Teigen's
I'm sorry.
husband.
Right.
The guy from the movie I Am Legend. And but like this is Bowie's most successful album of all time, and yet it doesn't sound like everything else he's done, but it's still awesome. Young Americans is a cool song, better than Fame, which Fame made it all the way up to I think number 7 on the Billboard Top 100. So this is Bowie's break into the mainstream at the time.
The old Bowie break. That is going to be maybe Pile because I actually do love drama. Ryan?
If Greg is just not going to close it out, then I will not either. And so I will say Blood on the Tracks. Bob Dylan's. It had been a while for Bob Dylan at this point. But it had the song Tangled Up in Blue, which most people know because of Rock Band or Guitar Hero. That was the Bob Dylan song that was on
Or
there.
because of Hootie and the Blowfish, right?
Or because of Hootie and the Blowfish.
And Bobby's so cool.
It also had a
I
simple
wanna
twist of
believe.
fate, which Steve Martin movie was named after.
Does this also have a Idiot Wind?
It also has Idiot
Man,
Wind.
that's 8 minutes of brutality.
It's also, I don't know if this counts for anything, but after spending 45 minutes in a used record store in my house right now, along with, and I shit you not, gentlemen, Sports by Huey Lewis in the News. I have it on vinyl, and it's here in the house. Right. But yeah, I want to throw Bob Dylan out there.
You get a point for owning those records. Bob Dylan is on the maybe
That's
pile.
all record players want.
Oh! Greg, throw me another maybe.
Okay, this is probably the most important band to me in my whole life. Pink Floyd.
Really?
And it's not just Pink Floyd came out with any album. Pink Floyd came out with Wish You Were Here, Wish You Were Here is, in my opinion, the best Pink Floyd album, much better than Dark Side of the Moon, even better than The Wall. And it came out in 1975, and they toured off of it in 1975. This album is like everything to me. It is note perfect, I think, which is crazy because some of the songs are 13 minutes long, and just has such an emotional landscape that I think really like gets communicated across the ages, and you still feel.
All right, Floyd's on the main. Let's do some speedy rounds there. Ryan, what do you got?
In fear of having a classically all-white list, I should have had Parliament because they had a legendary album this year, but I have the Four Tops, who had a huge year this year, including Oh, What a Night, one of the single greatest songs of all time. So the Four Tops, they were big this year. If you don't know that, don't look it up. Just you should feel stupid.
So you brought up Parliament, who killed 1975, but that is not your submission.
No, it's just they're a little too urban for me. So the Four Tops.
Okay.
That band from the 60s.
Hey, Greg, what do we got?
One of the biggest songs, and I can't believe this is true, was Rhinestone Cowboy by Glenn Campbell. Now, this is not a Captain and Tennille situation. I went and I heard this song. Both this song and the music video are awful.
Man, 1975 didn't give a fuck, dude.
No, dude, you could just be like, this guy looks like a 12-year-old boy with a bowl cut.
The original
and the
Rick
way they
Astley.
shot this video in what used to obviously be a stable but has not been used for like 40 years. So they had this horse running around on like rocks and broken logs.
Plus the whole thing of like, Glenn, Boobala, cowboy Western music, it's not happening anymore. What are you going to do? And he's like, add some rhinestones.
What do the kids
That's how
love?
we do it.
Rhinestones.
And it's so boring. The only part of the song that you know is the only thing that happens in the
Like
whole
a
song.
rhinestone cowboy.
He gets back to that a million times. And at first they have him look like a regular dude, and then clearly it's supposed to be he transforms into like the perfect image of the rhinestone cowboy, and it's the same 12-year-old boy. It looks like he's basically at his dance recital or something.
Okay. Well, that might sway me as a young 12-year-old boy who did dance recitals and wore a lot of rhinestones. I can respect that. Get up. But your maybe pile currently is David Bowie, Bob Dylan. I wrote PF, so pop filter.
P.F. Chang's.
Four Tops and
Pink Floyd.
Pink Floyd. It was
maybe?
Pink Floyd. Thank you, Pink Floyd.
Parliament Funkadelic.
Four Tops and Glenn Campbell. But your mountain is John Denver. Greg is the captain. Greg is Tennille. Bullshit? What is BS? Bruce Springsteen. And Parliament Funkadelic, which was my automatic. You'd get double points if you said it, but Ryan only said it shouldn't be on there. So Mike gets points for that one. That is your 1975 Mount Rushmore of music. I'm going to take a quick break. And when we come back to Dog Day Afternoon.
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening so far. And let me just tell you that everything ahead of this commercial is much better than what came before it. That's my guarantee. While I have you here, let me tell you about a website. It's called yourpopfilter.com, and it's everything you need that's related to Pop Filter. Everything Mike, everything Ryan, everything Greg, everything Cassie, everything is there at yourpopfilter.com. While you're there, go to yourpopfilter.com/Amazon. Make that your new Amazon bookmark, and do your shopping from there. That way, we get a little piece of the action, and Amazon doesn't. Make sure you're also listening to everything that Pop Filter has to offer, which includes the Superhero Show, a podcast that covers every single TV show that's based on a comic book or comic book property, and Movie of the Year, where we sit down and try and figure out what is the single greatest movie of any given year. That's Superhero Show, that's Movie of the Year, and that's yourpopfilter.com. Rate, subscribe, review, bye!
Taste buds. Dog Day Afternoon is a borderline comedy, something that it is not as famous for as its suspense. How is it able to, and is it even able to balance that comedy and aforementioned suspense?
I mean, I do think that the pacing and the direction helps a lot, where it's just, you know what it is? It doesn't hang a lantern on everything. Like, I think it starts off with a bam, bam, bam of opening the flower box that has the gun, and he cannot get it open. And then the third guy wants to leave.
Stevie
The
piecing
kid
out.
leaves
And,
forgets
Like right
the
after
keys.
it starts, just right after it starts.
So like, how am I going to get home, though?
I mean, oh
yeah, he's mad about his car.
Oh
How
my
do
God,
I get home?
Stevie, just get the fuck out of here.
And then I think one of the more memorable ones is Sonny and Sal trying to talk to each other, but they can't. We've all been in this position. There's a pole in our way, and we can't get our heads aligned to talk to each other. But none of that is like played for laughs. It's just like,
Right.
oh shit, this entire movie's fucked. This is all fucked, and I think it sets this tone that it really does a good job of. It's like it sets it up next to the side of the movie, and it can pull from that whenever it wants throughout
Yeah.
the rest of the movie.
it's
And it's always a surprise because, like, you're never like, okay, I know I'll laugh all the time now. It always hits you in a fun, weird way.
and because it's all extreme gallows humor, right? I mean, it's like
Yeah.
I think this is a very 70s feel where it's like all laughing is done in the face of like a deteriorating society and so there is no pure comedy and there is no pure tragedy in this environment. And
How
so
like life.
yeah, so like we're really, I mean, and Sonny is Fortune's fool, right? Like he is basically a clown. He is getting stunted on by himself, by his friends, by nature, by the media. Like even like that interview he has the guy talking about him on the news is being so dry, but everything
Yeah.
they're saying is meant to humiliate him. Everything is meant to humiliate him and humiliate Leon and humiliate
Because he's
the-
a criminal only. Like, we
Yeah.
know that he's not. You know, we know he's a three-dimensional character.
And honestly, it seems like they're doing it because he's a homosexual. It
yeah.
seems like they're doing.
as soon as they get that link, they're like, oh, here we go.
And they do it in such a dry way, but clearly they're like reading him in front of everybody, and all of the normies are supposed to be laughing at this dude.
Right.
And so, like that sort of like grim humor is baked into the society at large.
But
And it really does act as comedic relief because otherwise this would be, I think, an overwhelmingly grim movie.
Oh, it's necessary for sure in order to get this particular tone. But I also think I do want to give so much credit to the director and the editor. I don't think that when the screenwriter turned in the screenplay, it was a comedy at all.
Yeah.
I think that they were just like, with this cast and crew of wackies,
It feels like the
it's just
screenplay.
gonna be.
Honestly, I feel like the screenplay would just be like a lot of bracketed, like, and then they talk about this.
Yeah,
because
and
like,
then go ahead and do that.
There's no way anybody wrote how awkward some of these lines are.
But I guarantee you that there were so many funny things that Lumet and the editor, Dee something, left on the floor because it would have been too funny. You know,
Yeah.
like they walked this line like better than any movie I can remember. Of it's not a comedy, but it walks that line of not being a comedy the entire time because one or two or three too many jokes would have ruined everything that they were
Right.
trying to do.
Because you lose the comedy suspense are perfectly balanced because they build each other. You laugh harder because you need that release, and then the suspense is there because you got to relax for a second. So when the lights go down and Sal might shoot some, like it all just builds on each other. Over half an hour in, my wife was in the other room and she walked out. She's like, "Didn't you say you're watching like a 70s crime thriller?" And I was like, "Yes," and it's fucking hilarious.
Why are you guffawing so much? One of the classic stories is that when Sonny asks Sal, "What country do you want to go to?" He pauses for a really long time and then says Wyoming, and then Al Pacino. You get to see Al Pacino because that was improvised, and he he really is trying to stifle his laughter and just trying to handle it. That's sort of the kind of comedy that so it's not Monty Python, right? Like it's
Right.
not
No silly
uproarious,
walks.
but these are a bunch of bumblefucks
And then he
in
proceeds.
a bunch of bumblefuck situations.
He proceeds to refer to the name of the state as Wyoming. Like,
Wyoming?
yeah, he says Wyoming like 100 times over the course of the movie. And I think in a way also the comedy makes us a little complicit in it, I think, because we are part of that crowd that has run over there to guffaw at what's going on. Like, we have more humanity behind what we're doing, but what initially brought us to that movie, I think, is more like the train wreck quality of the story, and we are won over to the humanity of the people in it. But we have that same like rubbernecking, oh my god, there's an accident on the side of the road, what Vonnegut in Slaughterhouse-Five calls splat stories, right? We want to see somebody who's splatted because we're grimly interested. And I think the comedy kind of, in a way, brings us into that even more.
One of the craziest parts of the movie to me, something that I did not notice until this last rewatch, is when Sonny comes out and says, "Is there a doctor?" And the doctor runs up, and the crowd, as the doctor's running, the crowd goes, hup, 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 hup.
Pretty good call. Pretty good call.
They want to make jokes.
Yeah.
I'm already on the inside, bitches. Like, I already know what's going on the inside, so I find that offensive that you would make jokes about this dying
and they
man of
denigrate
diabetes.
everybody, right? They make fun of the
Yeah.
cops.
But
They
yeah.
seem to cheer for Sonny some of the times.
No,
but
They're nihilists. They think everything is bullshit and it should all be torn down.
Because as a crowd, they don't want to feel. I'm already fucked. Like, I'm already locked into all of these characters, but they have the advantage of just being like, just seeing a doctor run in to save a man's life and just being, hop, 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 hop,
Are
hop,
these-
hop.
It is pretty funny for somebody to yell, "Is their doctor?" and he comes out in full doctor's costume.
yeah.
With the big red cross and everything.
Are the mini episodes we're doing, are those Patreon only?
No, those are going to be out.
Because we're going to do mini episodes, and one of them we're going to do is Day of the Locust. And I can't believe how well Day of the Locust pairs with this, because
Everyone's always going, hup, 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 hup,
because
Hup, hup, hup.
that twin desire to be entertained, but also like, because if we're not entertained, then the rage comes and gets us. That's what you feel in this crowd, and the anonymity of like when you are part of a crowd, how
Right.
your cruelness goes through the roof.
It's Twitter.
The
It's just
cruelness,
Twitter.
the crowd
Yeah.
courage, yeah. Because they all do and say things to the cops that they would not do if it was one of them and one cop. But
Right.
Oh
'cause
yeah,
there's
for
the
sure.
crowd it
Especially
builds
these
up.
cops, because the cops in this movie, it's weird. It feels like
They're
this,
ready
this
to
movie
kill.
they showed up to fucking kill, and it's clear the entire movie. You know that what the cops are doing the entire movie is just figuring out how they're going to kill one or both of these guys.
Mm-hmm.
You can just feel it in the way they set everything up. Their goal here. These forgotten people that have never been like integrated into society at all. Now all of society is coming together to fucking kill them. Like society cares now, and so we're going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars just to shoot you in the brain.
It's unbelievable how Twitter it is, because they're all on Sonny's side. And then when they find out on the news that Sonny may have two wives, that some of them are making fun of Sonny when he frisks one of the cops.
Yeah.
Like, ooh,
Right.
ooh. And then Sonny flips them off as he's taking the cop inside, and they all cheer.
See, I couldn't figure
because
that
that's
out.
how Twitter works.
Did
Like,
he flip them off, or
Right.
did he give them like the fist, like the?
No, he gave him the
No,
finger,
flipped
and
them
they all
off, yeah.
cheered because we got you, a superstar, so upset that you gave us attention by
You
flipping us off.
reacted.
Yeah.
And so now we are on Twitter.
I think the going back to the comedy and suspense, it's built up. I think the structure of this is interesting because it's not like a normal crime. What I think of normal crime thriller, not just the tone, but the structure. We start them in the car, and because I've watched so many of these, I'm like, so this is day one. They're planning, and then they
Yeah.
just jump into it, and
There'll
that's
be
why I was
some
like,
montage.
I was like, oh, they on planning day they jumped in. That's why they're so messed up. But no, there's no montage, and then it ends when it ends. Versus like again, and like Julia Robertson and Brad Pitt are going to pick up Danny Ocean. That's a normal crime movie, guys. But did you notice the structure at all, or have I just not seen enough?
Oh no! I mean, I think that's a big part of it, right? Is that you get so enclosed within the event itself. Time is part of the like unsufferable closeness of this movie, right? Everything is too close. The helicopter flies like a foot off the ground. The crowd is too close. The vault is too small. It's too hot. There's too much pressure, and a big part of that is when you contain the whole story within whatever it is, 5 hours. It feels very constrained. It feels like time-wise claustrophobic.
I haven't done the math, but I think that if you looked at it, that I do think that Dog Day Afternoon comes out directly between Frank Sinatra's Ocean's 11 and George Clooney's Ocean's
Oh, wow.
11. And this is how things work, right? Like
Yeah.
in between, we have to be like, no. In between these two fucking sexy, smooth, everything works out, look how handsome everyone is. There's this, and this is no one acts like they're in the movie. Like Sidney Lumet does not direct like he's in a movie, and all of these people are incapable of even wearing a suit like George Clooney, much less
Or wearing sensible shoes to a robbery.
much less like even opening a door. Like
Yeah.
like you will never see Al Pacino, or I'm sorry, you will never see George Clooney walking up to a door with 3 pizzas and a case of soda and say, "Hey, could you open this for me?" Like that's just not
I
how
thought
it
he was
works.
going
in
to
those
Ben
movies.
Affleck all over the place. I thought it was just going to stumble and drop it all.
But
before he
if you're a
could open that
first-time
door.
heist master like Al Pacino is, like, I don't know how to open this door. I have to ask you, future guy who in the future is going to say, "I'm a star. I'm a star."
Honestly,
I need you to open the door for me.
The only thing they planned was that after the Brinks truck came, that's when they were going to do it. And that was the worst part of the whole thing,
Yeah.
because the thing that they planned for was after the money was picked up and taken elsewhere, that's when they were going to hit the bank. So honestly, planning didn't do anything for them.
They're not good planners. With that, like, did this help create new crime movie tropes? Does it explore any at all? Is it like trying to spoke the wheel of tropes that came before it?
I legit think that this started things that cops do now. Like, this all feels like
Ziplining in without being told to?
Yeah, like this feels like tropes that now all other hostage movies now have to do, and that is true. But also, there are things that happen in real life now because of this movie. Like, there is, I think that this is one of the best edited movies I've ever seen, because this movie does not care about like the exact time where, like the exact cut where I'm holding the gun here and holding the gun here, and I have to make it look clear. It's just for like tension. That's how the whole movie's edited. And this movie, one of the most perfect moments of this movie is Al Pacino picks up the phone and he's like, I'm sorry, what's happening? And then 3,000 cop cars, as if it's the goddamn Blues Brothers, all pull up at the exact same time. And then they start the negotiations. This is all real life now because of this movie.
How about for attention ratcheting device we talked about? How about at the very end of the movie when the jet engine just gets louder and louder and louder, even through the cut to black, and you're just like, I mean, that is like, you want to just get up. If I were in the theater, I'd want to get up and just run the hell out of that theater. Like,
and you're
that's
as sweaty
oppressive.
as those people.
Yeah, for sure. You have like a little lake on your chest, and you got a weird dent in your forehead. I mean, you're just falling apart.
Bon voyage, motherfucker.
That is all the time we have to talk about tone and structure. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, go to one of our favorite places. Hola, Filterinos. I just wanted to interrupt real briefly and say thank you for listening. Thank you for your support. If you want to support us a little more directly, you can go to patreon.com/yourpopfilter. There, depending on what tier you pick, $1 a month, $5 a month. If you're crazy, anything more than $5 a month, don't do that. You can get extra content. There's extra shows, extra series, behind-the-scenes stuff. You could pay for Ryan to draw you a picture. I can write you a poem. You can get the shirts off our very own backs. All of that and so much more over at patreon.com/yourpopfilter. While you're on the internet, you should check out Shady Monk. He does all the tunes you've been listening to. He's on Bandcamp, he's on Spotify, SoundCloud, wherever kids get their music these days that I'm too old to know. Shady Monk lives there. You can probably follow him on Twitter and Instagram as well. That's Shady Monk. Wherever you get music, check him out. Ah, yes. The hallowed halls of the Hall of Fame.
Of the Hollow Hall of Fame.
How
where everything echoes.
Majestic and wondrous it is. The greatest luminaries of pop culture that have shaped us here at Pop Filter, from Tina Fey to Tina Fey.
I remember both times she was nominated and won.
No, one time she nominated and won. The rest of the times, somebody was mocked for not remembering that she had been in for years.
Did you guys watch Girls 5 Ever yet?
I have not watched Girls 5
What
Ever
the
yet.
fuck, dude? Peacock is free.
I know, there's been a lot of sports on, Ryan.
Is it, though? Because I was trying to watch Rutherford Falls, and they let me watch the first 4 for free, and then said you got to pay for the other ones. Is that just once a week? Or
It's free when you pay, Mike. Just pay.
Oh, it's free when you pay. It's one of those
It's
freemium,
FTP,
I think they call
free
it.
to pay.
FTPs.
FTP.
That's
But you do get a lot of turns on your Girls 5 Ever sponsored Candy Crush if you do pay. So, yeah. Hello.
I have not had enough turns on my Girls 5 Ever sponsored Candy Crush, so that is hard to say. It is the Hall of Fame. It is the deadliest night in Hollywood, some people call it.
Deadliest night in Hollywood. Brought to you by Day of the Locust.
This is when feelings are hurt and friendships are made, is truly in the Hall of Fame. Because even when you try and do a lot of research, what you think two closest friends will say, that sounds like you thought of it right before you came on the show, and you were excited
he's
about
say
it
Al Pacino
all
Fucking
week.
A.
But I'm not going first. I'm the host. So, Greg.
Well, we consider ourselves, each of us, builders. But
Bob?
how did we become builders? What pieces came together to make us the men that we are? The men in quotation marks. The men-ish that we are. And I was thinking about this. My entire life, I have had a relationship with Legos. I don't like to say just Lego. I don't know. I know that that's what they call it, but I like saying Legos because that's what I did my entire life. I remember being like seriously 5 years old and playing with Legos.
Greg, where do you land on the whole RSBI? Did you say RBI?
No, I do. I say RBI.
Yeah, that's just say what feels right.
Yeah.
Where do you land on sergeant's major?
I like that. I like attorneys general. Whitney's Houston, those
are the fun ones.
Yeah,
of all the Houstons.
I think it's fun, but Legos have just like evolved over the course of our life. And I used to, when I was a young man in my 20s, be embarrassed about how much I was still into Legos. But you get so old that you just give up on everything. And one of the things that seems to go with the flush is like feeling ashamed of the things that you like. And honestly, we still get down on big long Legos conversations. We're sitting in a room with some nice Lego builds right now. They make a wonderful gift, and oddly enough, they're like an investment. You can buy a Lego set if you think that it's like going to be discontinued. Like you can then sell it again later for like 300 times the price. So they're that as well.
That
Legos,
well thought out, well argued. Some would say.
Thank you. That's ominous in a way, but thank you.
I just, I don't know how to be sincere. Ryan, what do you got?
Okay, so I thought a lot about this, right? Hall of Fame. This is a big moment for me. Like, I can elect anybody that has made me, Mike, and Greg the people that we are. And although this person has not been in our lives for a long time, I think it's an important amount. I think it's somebody who has made movies that we all love. I think it's somebody who enjoys build-ups, as I do.
Mm-hmm.
I think, what if it's somebody who made a movie that became a TV show, that became Comedy of the Year 2020? What if it's somebody who is responsible for making sure that Marvel stays on track and hooking up with Tessa Thompson and Rita Ora in the same picture,
and getting in trouble for it,
and then getting in trouble for
Yeah,
it, like a
that's
little
so
bad
cool.
boy that he is.
Man, you kiss two girls at the same time, and then your boss yells at you for it.
Principal Marvel came down and said, "You might get detention."
You looked too fucking sexy in those
Marvel's
pictures.
just jealous.
I also want to say
Tessa
that
Thompson and Rita Ora.
I've seen all the people who make Marvel movies, and this is somebody who I do think was like kind of butt when he was young, but now he has Hollywood money, and he's just one of the most handsome filmmakers that exists today.
It's not Hollywood money. It's also that there is something that's a lot of women hate that men grow into silver foxes, and I think there are beautiful older women, but there is the stereotype that they get wrinkly and men get more handsome. And Taika Waititi is definitely men get handsome when they get older. He was a dumb, weird squirrel.
He's also
human being.
He's got like it. He's very sexy. Like on top of like being handsome, like he's so successful,
confident,
and funny.
It's like a fucking sort of like a Elvis, sort of Australian Elvis sort of thing, or is he New Zealand?
He's from New Zealand, but that's okay. Honestly, they
Elvis?
like when you confuse them.
Yeah, they say please do it more. Foster's
They're just
New
like,
Zealand for
good
beer.
day, good day, mate.
I do want to point out that there was a time where we hated this person because we blamed him for breaking up Flight of the Conchords, and that's just not true. He was just there to pick up the pieces. And
one of them just had to not be famous anymore.
Yeah, one of them's like, look, I want to be in a Lord of the Rings movie as an elf, and then I want to disappear forever. All right.
Okay, so post Flight of the Conchords, Brit, right? Brit, did win an Oscar, so he's doing okay
for
too.
music.
Yeah, for music. No, for acting and directing. Stupid
Acting
idiot.
and directing.
Yeah, new Oscar.
You know what?
Best actor director.
That hurt, but it was a good burn.
Yeah, that was a good one.
But I also want to point out the movies. This is not part of like our growing up, but I want to point out the movies Boy and the Wildebeest movie.
Oh, Hunt for the Wilder People?
Hunt for the Wilder People. Thank you, Mike.
That movie
because
is so good. Even though it gave us a Terry type. The actress who played
no,
Terry.
it invented Terry, as far as I know.
Don't bring up Terry.
I'm going to hold him back. But Hunt for the Wilder People are clearly his like jokes up front. Mm-hmm. You know, it's important to make the joke, but also I'm going to throw some heart out there. Jojo Rabbit, I do think was a reverse of that. That wasn't great, but I still think that Taika Waititi needs to be in the Hall of Fame despite Jojo Rabbit.
Some of the laughs
his
in Jojo
most
Rabbit
successful movie of all time.
really made you feel like you would laugh and then you'd be like, wait, What's the joke? What am I laughing at here? What's going on?
There's also a very Spielbergian thing in Jojo Rabbit of I'm going to always shoot Scarlett Johansson's shoes so that I
like
can have that
Tarantino.
moment in that movie later where I just show her shoes hanging from the gallows.
Uh-huh.
I do think that that is his worst movie. I think that he is a better director in all other things, including Marvel and non-Marvel.
Everybody has a flub. I don't think that looking at the current Pop Filter Hall of Fame, one bad project does not mean they can't get in there.
And I'm not a person who hates or loves Jojo Rabbit. I think it was fine. I don't think there's enough there to hate or love it. But everything else, I do think. I don't know. I think that he's our guy. You know.
I'll say to transition seamlessly to mine. If flubs kept them out, it would be really rude to keep them out of this. Or not rude. Perfect. They flubbed a lot is what I'm trying to say.
This is such a good transition.
I nailed it. I crushed it.
This is the transition lenses of transitions.
We're like, it should be cool. Why
Weird
is it still
and awkward.
dark?
It's not really working.
I can't read, and it doesn't really block the sun. We would not be here, the three of us in this room today, these rooms today, without this person. I do think they made us who we are. I think it's very specifically made Pop Filter what they are. And it's the 10-year anniversary. And despite any sort of thing, I think this person gave me a quote that I think about all the time.
Jake Busey sucks, and I think he's ugly.
And truer words have never been spoken, and that's why. And it's not just because somebody's birthday might be nearby, but I think the cutest little boy in Hollywood deserves to be in the Pop Filter
You
Hall of
sons
Fame.
of so both of your stupid asses are going to be in our own Hall of Fame. So I'm going to be the one person on this show.
No,
I'm not saying
I'm
put
not
me.
voting for me.
Yeah, that would be a travesty. I'm going to vote for you though, you dick, because it is his birthday tomorrow,
So,
and we're doing literally nothing else for it.
well, we can. It's still sort of the pandemic in some parts of the world. We are going to start voting. Greg, Lego.
Yeah, definitely. I love Legos.
Ryan.
I love Legos. In fact, my favorite one that I've ever built is when there was one about the sort of like cross-hatched breakfast pastry that I made. Lego Maego. And, but no.
That's why you're not getting to the Hall of Fame, buddy.
That's at least why Greg's getting the point right
That
there.
cost you.
All right, Linda.
I love that you guys love Lego. I
knew
really
it.
do.
You would if you
I
fucking
knew
tried
it.
it for 1 second, man. It's like heroin.
I
Just
would-
try heroin.
I would get
This
it
is
as a
because
kid.
you did drugs your entire childhood instead of having a
Yeah,
childhood, Mike.
sorry,
Can
I
we
would
be honest?
party.
Oh man, that's not true. That's not true.
No,
of Mike
I
Devil
would
Sticks
just do acid
Gravano.
alone and do
But-
devil sticks.
Can we point out the fact that like if the Legos stopped with Lego Movie, they might be in the Hall of Fame. But there were so many other movies like Ninjago. After
Ninjago.
Yeah,
that.
Ninjago keeps it out, and that I would get
And
it
I don't
for
know if you can use that
birthdays.
word, Mike.
Build half of them and then not find a piece and throw it across the room. So Legos really bring out the anger in me. So I have to vote no. Next
Well, I hope your thing also fails. Oh, wait, it was Ryan. Damn it.
is Taika Waititi. Ryan, what is your vote?
I think that he should be in. I think that we just gel with him. Like he would be friends with us.
Yeah.
And so
He would be cooler because he knew us.
I think that we could give him a lot of coolness, cool points. And I think that the only way to be cool is to call things cool points. I think that, yes,
Cool
he should be
points.
in.
Greg.
Kewl. Cool.
Greg.
Well, I'm on the real horns of a dilemma here because I have Ryan's suggestion, which is Taika Waititi, who I love, or Ryan himself, who is the birthday boy tomorrow. So Taika Waititi, I think, should probably be nominated again some other time, but I'm withholding my vote.
Yeah,
For
I
now,
think
I'm going to say no.
he made comedy cool again. He made Thor cool, which was impossible. He made
Thor.
vampires cool again.
Thor.
I love this guy, and I want my beard to look like his beard someday. I vote yes. And finally, we have Ryan R. Haley. I vote yes. I don't need to say why. I already said all my shit. Greg?
I say yes, definitely. He's helped make this show what it is today.
And
Also an insult.
yeah, Ryan.
That was a low-key burn, yeah, sure.
I mean, this is a big one for me. I could say no, but then I wouldn't be in the hall. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes.
All right, lock him up. You have to stay here now, bud.
Didn't you already vote 2 yeses?
No, I said no to Legos.
He did.
Oh.
He said no Legos, yeah.
I misread
Knowing that the Ryan vote would be...
I thought you were taking a weird stand, and I was going to have to throw a superhost vote and say you're in anyway.
I wanted to. I for reals wanted to. I wanted to be like, well, I'm out of votes, but when the opportunity presented itself, I could not. What am I going to do? I want to be in the Hall of Fame.
Your 1975 Dog Day Afternoon class Pop Filter Hall of Fame is... only Ryan R. Haley.
Woo!
Welcome.
Thank you.
I don't know why it's funny, crowd. Okay, there's the applause. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to wipe Ryan's tears of joy.
Jake Busey sucks, and I think he's ugly.
Taste buds. It's easy to see how the cops, the crowd, and the television stations all handled the introduction of Leon. But how do Lumet, his writer, and his editor handle Sonny and Leon after Leon's introduction?
Considering it's 1975,
I know. We have to keep that into consideration.
I think does a pretty good job. I mean, Leon comes across as like the most level-headed, like clear thinking. Besides Sylvia, like Leon seems to be
Sylvia?
one- Sylvia is like the Irishy sounding, like the woman
The head
who's like,
teller?
yeah,
A
yeah.
sassy broad.
She's fucking awesome. But we're not here to talk about Sylvia.
Besides her, Leon is like the person who makes the most sense, and like it's like, why are you doing this? What you're not thinking. You're awful. And so, like, I don't feel like the movie plays Leon for a joke, and I don't know. Like, I was prepared. I think the movies of 1999 were a lot worse.
Yes.
Than this.
Did you guys know this twist going in that that Sonny had 2 wives?
I was a little confused. I knew that he wanted to rob the bank to pay for a lover's gender reassignment, and I just not knowing any of the other details of the movie, I thought that person was Sal. So that like I was surprised when but I knew basically that the surgery was part of it.
We do have to talk about Sal, maybe in the speed round, but we got some Sal talk to talk about.
I had heard Sonny was queer, and then the whole movie I was like, am I thinking of a different movie? And then they did this weird mid-movie twist where we meet his first wife first.
Right.
Yeah.
And then introduce Leon. Why that twist? What does that do to the movie?
Well, I mean, it is a true story, so they're trying to be true to the story. And a lot of people have issues with the trueness of the story because the actual story is way more queer than what we get.
Right.
So they're like, oh, you had to cut out a lot of the queerness. But aside from that, for a 1975 mainstream movie, like a Warner Brothers picture directed by Sidney Lumet, this is as queer as you could probably get. This is the most queer you can get. Like, I think the set records for queerness.
And it is like the outside world does spit at them or laugh at them. But I think going back to how the crowd is, it's showing the cruelty of crowds.
Yeah.
It's not, the movie isn't like, right, audience? The movie's saying, like, see how the villain could be the world?
They show up and they represent themselves, and even though they're booed and heckled and everything, like a whole contingent of like queer supporters comes to back them up. And you have to be mindful of the fact, right, the event takes place 3 years after Stonewall or 2 years after Stonewall. So, like, that sort of like we're not going to take it anymore air, it does find its way into the movie, but
and how
the
they
movie
all
soft
gang
sells it.
together and ran there as soon as possible. Like, yes, this is a moment for us. In that crowd, by the way, a 60-year-old Harvey Fierstein,
really,
who probably the whole time was like, ugh. You guys know how he talked,
just like that.
Harvey Fierstein.
Oh,
if you don't know the voice, then you're not going to know the guy. He sounds exactly like
But yeah, I like the whole like. I loved how the movie dealt with it. I hated how the special features dealt with it. Like, I'm sort of burned by the DVD special features of, we did such a good job of never making anyone have a limp wrist or a lisp.
Like in Pretty Woman when he's like, when have I ever treated you like a whore? And she's like, well, kind of now.
At this moment.
You just said I was, and then you pat yourself on the back for not treating me like one. So,
But for most gay people at the time, this is like the first time that they've seen somebody who is clearly not like underlying, but clearly gay up on the screen. And then the special features are like, we did so much work to never have Leon have a limp wrist. Oh my God. Okay. Here's my favorite story from all the special features. Lance Henriksen. Mike, do you know that name?
I do know that name.
He started in like a X-Files spinoff.
Was he? No, he's not in The Wire, is he?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
He just he was the star of like a Fox show, and he's just been in all of like these 80s and 90s like sci-fi movies. He was the FBI agent who kicked the car door open and there was a gun and then shot Sal.
Yes.
The guy that like kind of takes command of it halfway through.
Right.
Yeah.
And he has a story on the special features of like, I went out for Leon. I wanted to be Leon. And all the producers and directors ran up to me and they were like, Lance, you can't be Leon. You're so you have to be an FBI agent. And
You're too masculine, man.
I was fighting them off and I was like, no, I want to play Leon. But they were like, no, you can't do it, bud. You can't do it. Your arms and you're just so manly.
And I was like, you know,
There's no way that you could act like that.
I am currently doing push-ups while we have this conversation.
God
so
damn it.
I guess
That
so. I
makes
did
me
just
like-
open a beer with a gun.
Bishop from Aliens a little less. That's how I knew him. I was like, that's the cyborg thing. They're not
Oh,
cyborgs and
yeah.
aliens, but
Yeah,
But,
but I mean, we are so on this podcast we are so tuned in to like, hey, was that offensive? Hey, are
Right.
you representing it? And I have to say, I took that awful, terrible energy into this movie, and it does a pretty good job of avoiding all the daggers and all the little
Right.
pitfalls that might hit a
Well,
1975 film.
I think the biggest moment is when Sal is saying, hey, Sonny, they're saying that two homosexuals are trying to rob the bank. And Sonny's like, I don't fucking care, dude. Like, I don't know what you want me to do
Is
about
it
that.
because I'm bisexual? Is it because
Yeah.
I'm pansexual? And
did Sal know? And like was finding it was very interesting that he seems like cool with taking orders from a gay man, but he's like, but as long as people don't think I'm
Right.
gay.
And I want the news to point out the fact
Yeah.
that I love vagina. If they don't, can you do something about that?
and don't
then
one of
also
the
asking
tellers-
Sonny, like, he thinks Sonny has so
Yeah,
much power.
Sonny has all the
can
power.
Can you call television?
for
How-
immediate release.
How
One
in
of
touch
these
with
two guys
reality
is straightish.
Sal is, it like goes away throughout the movie. At first it's like, okay, he's like the strong silent type. It's like, no. I think Sal is barely hanging on even more than Sonny.
Oh, for
Do you know how
sure.
close this is to In Cold Blood? Like that the story of In Cold Blood, where some guys are going to rob a house, and then one of them is like, "It'd be fun to do some murders in here." Like when you do crimes with people, sometimes you end up with someone who's like, "I would love to just kill everybody in here."
How come
Sal-
we've never
he-
had that conversation, guys? Of like, bup, let's do crimes.
Why don't we do some crap? There's a point where Sal brings Sonny over, and it's early on, so you think he's gonna be like, "What are we doing?
Yeah.
Should we just throw it away?" And he goes, "Hey, I will kill somebody if you say it." And Sonny's just like, "Oh, okay, man." Like
Cool.
backs away. Like I think one of the beautiful things about the character of Leon is he does poke Sonny is Robin Hood, right? Like he's a little bad, but just the way all bank robbers are bad, but we love him. And then Leon goes in there, and they let that character show the audience what a monster Sonny can be.
Because
And it's
you know
like,
what?
Oh, he drives people to suicide.
You know what superstar that is like always cool and everybody loves? Like, I've been trying to get away from you for 6 months.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
why? You know, and it's probably not been the healthiest relationship.
And you're not helping me. You're not doing anything for me. Now they fucking dragged me down here to come talk to you on the phone, and all I want to do is get away from you. And then his other wife, who was like, by the way, I still have a bone to pick with you when you yelled at me. And he's like, would you just shut the fuck up?
Yeah. He's right. You know what? In that
Screaming,
moment,
and then
he's
slams
right.
the phone down. But like the whole thing is like, I want to be the star. Will you
Right.
make me the star? And Leon actually needs to be the star sometimes. And then when you think about Leon, then you think about his actual wife. I can't remember her name, and then the mom, and then like
Angie. She's New York.
Sure.
She's kind of Italian. It's probably Angie.
but yeah, like, you know, Sonny wants to be the star, but he's also keeping other people, or like he is getting very upset at people who are not making him the star.
And who don't do exactly what he wants. Only
Follow
say the
the
things I
script.
want you to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, I'm gonna like just start screaming at you. Get on this ride with me. I don't want to. Then I just start screaming at you and calling you a pig. Like that's awful.
Leon is surrounded by cops, only in a robe. Like he got ripped out of the hospital.
Yeah.
Surrounded by
In
cops.
sandals?
And Sonny starts yelling at him because he let the FBI and cops listen to the conversation. Leon's like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Is that the gayest thing that happens? Is that he passes out?
He faints.
He gets a bit of the vapors. Yeah.
He faints a little bit.
But
when...
when you, at first I was like, oh, come on, movie. And then it's like he got out of the hospital and he's pumped full of meds. And it's like, oh, okay, that actually is. If they never put that in, then I'd be like, no, movie.
And
no.
again, with the robe and the slippers, they took him directly from the, like, they busted in, sirens probably a blaring. Like, it's the end of Promising Young Woman.
And he
took him from the hospital and then left.
They didn't even tell Leon
why.
Like, what the story was. And then there's that cop snickering, like, the entire...
No, finish it. Speed round was rude.
Just, like, throughout Leon's entire story, there's a cop just snickering, which... Then, like, the movie gets to sort of force that character out and say, like, no, that's not what we're doing here. It's not a joke.
Yeah, the detective and the FBI were like, shut the fuck up. And, like, it does seem in another movie, they would have been like, right, elbow, elbow. Which
is similar to things that happen in Serpico and Carlito's Way.
As if anyone even knows that.
I've heard of those movies. It is time for Speed Round. If the cops gave you a soda when you asked for food and that soda was Tab, would you murder every hostage?
Yeah, I'm going to take the machine gun from Sal's hands and I'm going to fucking kill him down.
Kind of sad that Sal is like, your body's a temple, I don't want to get the cancer. And yet
then
he's
drink a
drinking
Tab.
Tab.
Wild cherry Pepsi. That is what bank robbers and hostages want.
Right. This show is brought to you by Wild Cherry Pepsi. We are a Wild Cherry Pepsi family.
The bank robber's choice.
Is it at all a failing of the movie that they don't really explain how Attica is connected to the action or what it even was?
Yeah,
I think it's cool, though.
That's very realistic, but it's like, I feel like you can see the social message of the movie more if you understand how Attica is similar to how the cops and FBI prosecuted this action as well.
But I think you understand Sonny more and saying, like, fucking, what's a hashtag? Oh, here's a hashtag, and then just shouting at, he doesn't even know what Attica is.
All
he just
says
knows that it
is
will
like,
get people on his side.
Remember they killed those guys. Like he says a little, and it's either he knows a lot, or maybe Sonny just knows they killed those guys. I also think that we're 50 years out. That maybe in 1975 we would have been like, oh shit, Attica.
Well, and I mean,
maybe
a lot of people do know what Attica is. I just think like if you're going to bake it into the events of your movie like that, and you want your movie to be timeless.
I equate it to like some white person having something and then saying BLM. Now, I don't really know what that means, but
I guess I could
Airheads,
see that.
Brendan Fraser chants Rodney King at the crowd,
right?
And then somebody asks Rodney King, and Steve Buscemi just says, "He's that guy." They don't explain that. Like, I do think there's certain like cultural
Airheads
touch
the movie of the year of all years.
It should be. How does this movie approach celebrity?
I think it does a really good job in that it's very upfront and stupid about it, but it's like the 6th priority. You know, like with Network, his next movie, he sort of puts it up front. And I sort of think this movie works better because it's 6th priority instead of 1st priority.
And it's about how a part of the celebrity cycle is that you are sacrificed at the end, and that doesn't happen to him; it happens to Sal. But that like a big part of it is the infatuation, which borders on hate the entire time, and will eventually, when the entertainment runs out, the hate is what remains.
And I think we can do a thing where like Sonny is Facebook, but the pizza delivery guy is Snapchat. You know, just like, I am a star for this 1 second.
I think Maria is TikTok.
That makes sense.
All of that makes sense. Yeah, it's crazy that people, like, the conversations about celebrity are still happening today. It hasn't evolved. It's still the same of, like, when, like, Chrissy Teigen opens up about mental health issues, people are like, boo, you're rich, don't talk about that stuff. And, like, Sonny... They're like, we like you as long as you're giving us money, but the minute you're like, oh, there's problems, boo.
I mean, I think this movie puts the lie to a lot of social progress. Like, this movie passes the modern woke test. So, obviously, we have not progressed that much, although we feel like we have. If we are still like, wow, this movie handles trans identity better than most movies we see currently. That's a bad thing, not a good thing.
If there was an award for coolest character, is there any doubt Sylvia would win it? And what does her cool-headedness and bravery tell us about leadership?
Yeah, Sylvia is the bomb because you have almost no one in this movie who is doing a good logical job and acting like an adult. And Sylvia does. She makes the choices about who stays and who goes. And I think there's a message a little bit like in Jane Austen's Persuasion, where it's like Sylvia should be in the police force or she should be in the government. But there is something about the fact that all of these bank tellers are women. This job is like that, like kind of the end of the road in terms of career advancement at this time for a lot of women. And you can see that she has value beyond that. And the people who are in charge are big, stupid boys, like very, very dumb idiots.
They try to put it on the bank manager, the guy who like sweats from diabetes, but it is her. And like, she's the first one to be like, no, I'm going to go back in. And be with my girls.
These are my girls.
At that moment, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Come stand by me, sis.
No matter what. And I'm going to be with my girls. And she's the one. She's like, she has moments with everyone. She's like,
yes.
Oh, Sal, do you really care about cigarette smoke? You have a gun pointed at my head and you're worried about me dying of cancer. Like, she's the one who sort of always sums up, this is all fucking stupid, bro.
If the crowd is aggressively nihilistic in a dumb way, she is in it, like, she's very much in a laid back. She's
the
like,
most productive
the world is bullshit.
Yeah.
But look at it. I'm going to help the people. Like,
but you have to navigate it. You have to you have to approach the world as like, yes, this is bullshit, but I am going to find my way through it. And some people don't have that ability. And that's what this movie highlights most of them.
To get two scenes in the movie of one, no, I'm going back in with my girls. I will not be free. I will go back in with my girls. And then also, oh, you don't want me to smoke? You think that's ridiculous to have both those scenes in the same movie? Like that.
And right away, she says the first thing the audience is thinking, which she's like, didn't you have a plan?
Yeah.
Like the way she speaks for the audience there, where she's just like chastising them, basically. Like, you stupid idiots. You have to do a plan if you're going to do something like this.
Taking a little out that this is based on a true story, are the economy and the war actual factors in the movie and these characters, or just an easy backdrop?
Well, I mean, I think they're part of the extreme tension that exists within the movie. Like, America had just come out of this very fractious period, and the way we got out of it was to just be like, well, we fucked up, and now we're just going to, like, withdraw. And there was no glory. There was no, like, celebration for it. And it made people had just come out of this whole thing realizing, like, we don't really believe the things we say we believe. We don't really do the things that we're supposed to do. And now we look and we're not sure what we're supposed to do or who we're supposed to follow. And so those things, I think, are baked into the pressure that cooks this entire setting.
That, and I think that, like, there's layers here of the police and then the crowd. And the crowd is always about to encroach on the police. The thing that, like, is never the focus, but is always about to happen. And it's because, fuck you, man. Like, you're as terrible as they are, you know? And, like, we want to be close to them. And they are the people inside the bank do two things. One, they are not cops. And two, they are stars. And I want to be close to both of those two things.
And again, those cops represent society doing so many things once, like, somebody is already lost. So society tying up so many resources in killing people that have lost their way.
Yeah, and the other
versus not just, like, supporting people at other points in their life, like supporting outsiders, supporting people who need mental health, supporting people.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing that cops have meant then and now and always is that I have like 6 rules and I will always follow them. And everybody else is like, nuance. Like, no, maybe those rules aren't great. And they're like, well, I have these rules. And if you break one of these 6 rules, I get to shoot you. That's bullshit. I just shot you.
Al Pacino never mentioned Dunkin' Donuts once through this movie. Explain.
I think that he understood that Ben Affleck should be in the fucking Hall of Fame. Ben Affleck is our Dunkin' Donuts go-to guy. Guys, how did we get through a Hall of Fame thing with not having Ben Affleck in there?
We have to reckon with the Dunkin' Donuts Al Pacino commercials because he has sold off his entire legacy for just some Dunkin' Donuts commercials.
And that's not a joke. He sold stock in Al Pacino, and they're all sold to Dunkin' Donuts.
Do we see an odd utopia form within the bank, and it's not just a few knuckleheads without an actual plan? Or is this an audience member Stockholm syndrome situation?
I don't know. I don't know if I believe in community or Stockholm syndrome. I do believe in cults, though. I think that we're seeing cults. I think that people who are a little bit lost want to be in a cult, and they want to be led by I don't know, somebody handsome. And even though, did we talk about how short Al Pacino is?
He's a teeny man.
Even though he's that
He's a
short,
titty man.
I think they want to be led by him.
There is something interesting though about like the heat and the proximity. It like their defenses come down. They like are around each other in various states of undress. They dance and entertain each other. They actually speak to one another. What's her name? Benedict Peters.
Carol Kane.
Yeah, Carol Kane. There you go. Carol Kane. Like she's like almost been liberated from her house. Her husband keeps calling in to be like, "What do you do to raise a baby?" Or like, how does food get into dinner?
Or the fact that Al Pacino said, "Here's how you do the army thing with the gun.
Yeah.
Here, go ahead and hold the gun."
And then he takes the magazine. He's like, "Oops, I'm gonna hang on to this part though because
Oopsies.
this has the kill boys in it, so I have to hang on to this one. But you can kick the gun around if you'd like."
But it's not crazy for him to give her the gun because he's not.
And
not
he
about
advocates
killing.
for them. He advocates
Right.
for them. He has been them. He understands their world. He understands that like they don't get any respect. He sees what they've gone through, and they feel like seen for the first time and advocated for the first time.
Because they're always called women or cattle. You know, like, let me
Right.
get one of those women.
Again, they're seen as a collective unit. They're like either send out all the women or I can't even imagine what would be less than all the women. So
Give me one of them unit.
That is all the time we have for Speed Round.
Bon voyage, motherfucker.
We're going to take a break, and when we come back, it's awards season. The most important award we have here is recommendations. Greg, what do you got?
Serpico.
Also, let's remember Team Serpico always doing that chant every time they got together. All
Also-
5 of them together.
If I'm remembering correctly, Serpico's scarf game is like next level. This guy is always rocking a luxurious scarf.
Just wear a fucking scarf. What are you, not wearing a scarf?
I am not wearing a scarf
Okay.
currently.
Maybe wear a scarf. Jesus
What if the
Christ.
characters of Dog Day were all acting hot like they had been, but then also everyone had a scarf on?
And mittens.
It's so hot. Ugh.
Ryan, what is your recommendation?
Mike, I thought about this for a long time because the thing that I wanted to go with is
Serpico, I did that one.
It is Serpico. It's somebody who was browbeaten by all the people in their life, and once they were not browbeaten, then they became a star. I wanted to do Boogie Nights, but I think that movie has been seen before. So let's do a different one. Let's do The Insider. Do you guys remember
What
the movie
is
The
that?
Insider?
I do not remember the movie The Insider.
This is a movie from the year 1999, a year that we have done on Movie of the Year, and probably was not even in contention. It's a Michael Mann film with Al Pacino. Do you remember him?
I do remember Al Pacino.
I've heard of him.
And Russell Crowe. And it's about the
Great ass!
it's about the taking down of the tobacco industry.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a true story. And it's just Al Pacino acting like, oh wait, is this a true? Oh.
Maybe he should only play real people.
Hold on, is this a movie about the real life? And then I don't know why he's so Cajun, but just like the docudrama of it, the whole like I'm not gonna do crazy shit with my camera. I'm just going to film this story. The Insider is a crazy overlooked movie where Al Pacino is an incredible actor. Once again, he does it every once in a while, and we just never notice.
So go watch The Insider. Go watch Serpico. Go watch. Mine has already been referenced tonight. Watched it a bunch growing up. I think it's too oft forgotten. It holds up mostly if you can get past the premise of
Gremlins
Isn't
2.
it funny that these
Gremlins
white
2, the
dudes
new
took a
batch?
place hostage as a joke? It's Airheads, which I did not realize until halfway through Dog Day Afternoon, is just straight up a comedic remake of Dog Day Afternoon. There are some moment for moment lifts up, including the Brendan Fraser screaming, Rodney King is just Attica. There are so many things that they just were like, what if we made this movie funny? But it already is funny, but they're like, well, what if we made it like Adam Sandler funny?
What if nobody got shot in the brain?
Nobody gets shot. It's just fun.
Do you guys understand the star power of us, the three of us right now? Of Brendan Fraser, Steve Buscemi, and Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
Like, that's basically the best movie of all time, right?
Chris Farley's in it. Ernie Hudson is in it.
Man,
it's
you can tell Chris
gold.
Farley based his like movement vocabulary on Charles Dunning from this movie when he did the character Matt Foley. Matt Foley moves exactly like Detective Moriarty or whatever Moretti moves in this.
yes. And
Glad
he
I
does
got
that
that in.
as
I
a
was-
cop
I was afraid
And
I wasn't going to get
It's
sick.
the
You
only
got it
note
in.
Greg wrote down.
Yeah. It's on my hand.
That has been Dog Day Afternoon, and gentlemen, I can't imagine
It's
two
gonna
people
win.
I'd rather discuss.
Whoa.
It's going to
this
win.
movie.
Oh, wait.
I
we-
also think it's gonna win.
We have a segment for this, so we'll talk about if it's going to win.
Oh,
later.
yeah.
And a whole different show.
Yeah, no, in like 2 seconds. Just take a break. And
Oh,
are you
do you
going
guys
to the
think it's
outro
gonna
right
win?
now?
yeah, I was just slipping in the outro right now.
Oh, it's going to win.
Yeah,
Yeah,
when
it's
we
gonna
were,
win.
When we were doing our preview watches, I was like, okay, it's either going to be like I was looking at the list of movies. I was like, it's going to be one of these. It's going to be Jaws, or it's going to be. And then I put this on, and within half an hour, I was like,
It's
oh,
it.
this is 1975's movie of the year for sure.
I think that we are. I still think, and I said this in the preview show or the intro show, that like we're going to have an adverse effect to One Flew. You know, like
Yeah.
I do think that we're going to like roll our eyes
Yeah.
almost like we do to American Beauty.
Yeah.
Like, all right, movie, way to go. This could totally win.
Like I said, this is my favorite movie we've done in
Which is
the
crazy.
years of doing
That is
movie of the
crazy.
year. And I think it's also quality. It's not just 'cause it ticks
We've
my
done
boxes.
10 Things I Hate About You. So, Mike, I don't know where you're coming from right now.
I don't want to be the one to say it. I think it's better. I think Dog Day Afternoon might be-
don't say it. Jesus.
I would prefer if teenagers did a version of this.
10 Dogs
But-
I Hate About Day Afternoon?
Yes. We have to actually get to my best friend for the week. This was a good showing. This is one of those shows where I forgot to give as many points because I was just drawn into the conversation. With that being said, Ryan, you got 28 points. Greg, you got 25 points. Ryan, you are my best friend for the week.
I felt like there was a lot of times where you were going to give me a point, but then instead you just grabbed your drink.
Sometimes I don't press the button. I just mark it down, but often I was just grabbing
And, Mike,
my drink.
I think that I should have won by more than 3 points.
I know you had to have some sort of issue with that. And in a rare move, the host got 0 points. But that has been our show. We are going to take, not the week off, we'll be back next week with Jaws. Until then, keep watching those movies.
Jake Busey sucks, and I think he's ugly.